Hello, I'm Kyle Bratch. I'm ChapMoto Motorsports, and today we're talking about the top 5 dual sport motorcycles. In this discussion, we're going to talk about ultimate performance. We're going to talk about weight. We're going to talk about rideability. This is going to be a comprehensive video talking about literally the top 5 best dual sport motorcycles that are available today for purchase in the marketplace. Now, as a bonus, I brought 2 other motorcycles into the mix that you don't see here behind me, so stay tuned so you can see how that unravels. Now, in today's presentation, we're going to talk about several key factors that go into choosing the perfect dual sport motorcycle for your particular application. Those different categories or topics are going to include price, horsepower, weight, cost of maintenance and maintenance intervals, roadworthiness, the transition from dirt to street and street to dirt, fuel carrying capacity, fuel mileage, and top speed. So in the conversation about price, we're almost in order here. The KLR 650 is going to be the least expensive machine in this entire lineup. Now, it was last produced in 2018, but you can still find them on dealership floors today for between $5,000 and $6,000, depending on where the bike is located. Now, the next most price-conscious motorcycle in the lineup, we're going to skip the XR and jump here to the DRZ400. Now, this bike has been in the lineup for a really long time. I actually owned a 2002 model. I put 90,000 miles on it and sold it for more than I bought it for. This is an extreme value. You can find these out there on dealership floors for about $6,500. Now, for about $400 more, you can jump up to the XR 650L. This thing is a workhorse. If you want a slightly more dirt-oriented machine than the KLR 650 and you really don't care about wind protection, that XR is probably the bike you're going to want to look at. Now, moving up to the next most expensive bike in our lineup, it's a huge jump. We go from about $7,000 to just over $10,000 for the Honda CRF 450L. Now, this is a brand new motorcycle. It's only been out there for 2 years, and it has loads and loads of technology built into it. Of all of the dual sport motorcycles that we're talking about today, this is going to be the quietest motorcycle running down the road. Honda has coated the inside of the swing arm to eliminate noise. They've put rubber dampeners inside the sprocket. This bike is crazy when it comes to the technology that Honda has built into it. Now, speaking about technology, let's step up here. If you got an extra $1,000 to spend, you can jump up to the race-ready KTM 500 EXC. This thing weighs in at about 250 pounds. It's extremely light, and it has more horsepower than any other bike in the lineup. As we look at the bikes here, they're lined up in the order of power to weight ratio. The most powerful here in front of us, and the least powerful furthest away. Starting out with this KTM 500 EXC, we're weighing in at 264 pounds, and we've got 41 horsepower. That puts this bike feeling like an animal when you're out there on the trail. Next up is the Honda 450L, weighing in at 289 pounds and coming in at 39 horsepower. The Suzuki DRZ comes in next at 321 pounds with 39 horsepower as well. That extra 50 pounds is going to make that bike feel significantly more sluggish than the Honda with nearly the same horsepower. Next up on the list is going to be the Honda XR 650. This bike's going to weigh in at 349 pounds and have 43 horsepower. The heaviest bike in the lineup is going to be the KLR 650. Weighing in at 432 pounds with 44 horsepower, this bike's going to feel like a slug getting up to highway speeds. This bike is one of the most stone-cold, reliable bikes out of the entire fleet, though. And if you happen to have a problem, you can probably fix it with parts from a local 7-Eleven. Now let's talk a little bit about maintenance, cost of ownership, and maintenance schedules. If you just want to ride your motorcycle, there's really only one vehicle here that you should be looking at, and that's the KLR 650. The service intervals on this thing are crazy long. Now, conversely, moving down this direction, as we become lighter and more performance-oriented, we get to the KTM 500 EXC. Now, this is one high-maintenance bitch. This motorcycle here is amazing when it comes to performance. The miles per mile on this KTM 500 EXC are huge. It is the fastest, the lightest, the most ragged of all the machines here in front of us. But there is one caveat. This thing needs an oil change every 15 hours or 250 miles. And then you're looking at a valve adjustment or possibly even a piston change at just 40 hours. That's not just the first 40 hours, that's every 40 hours. So if you like wrenching on motorcycles as much as you like riding motorcycles, the KTM might be a good choice for you. The Honda CRF450L. While this bike is much more reliable than that of the KTM and does require less maintenance, we're still looking at a service interval of about 600 miles for the oil change and about 1,800 miles for the valve check or adjustment if it's necessary. Now, several guys on the forum have been sending their oil into Blackstone Labs, and we've seen good results at both 1,000 miles and 12,000 miles. But if you follow Honda's recommended service intervals, we're looking at 600 miles every oil change. Now, if you want to step up your service intervals from hundreds of miles to thousands of miles, this XR650L is a great bike for that. We're looking at an oil change interval of every 2,000 miles and a valve inspection interval of every 4,000. Now, if the XR is too heavy for you, so you want to lose a little bit of weight, we can drop about 25 pounds and we roll up to the DRZ400. Now, this bike is going to allow you to do oil changes every 3,000 miles. That's an extra 1,000 over the XR650, and you're looking at a valve adjustment or valve inspection every 15,000 miles. Now, if weight really doesn't matter and you just want to ride your motorcycle on some fire roads and dirt trails, do a little bit of dual sport action, this KLR 650 is going to be the ticket. We're looking at 6,000 miles between oil changes and 25,000 miles between valve inspections. Now, next up on our list is top speed, but I really want you guys to take this with a grain of salt because I don't know that I quite believe it, and a lot of it depends on rider weight, gearing, how the bike's set up. There's a whole lot of factors that go into it. But from the internet, if you Google top speed of any of these motorcycles, this is what the arrangement looks like. The brand new Honda CRF 450L comes in at 90 miles an hour for a top speed. KLR 650 comes in at 93 miles an hour. XR650L comes in at 96 miles an hour. The KTM bumps it up over 100 miles an hour with 101 as its top speed. And according to the web, the DRZ400 is coming in at 114 miles an hour. Again, take that with a grain of salt. It's what the web says, but there is your lineup. Well, looky there. Our two bonus bikes have finally made the program. What we're looking at here is the Yamaha WR250R and the Honda CRF250 Rally. Now, when it comes to weight, these guys are right in the middle of the bikes that we've all looked at earlier. We have about 300 pounds for the WR and about 350 pounds for the Rally bike here from Honda. Now, I brought these two motorcycles in for two different reasons. They're 250cc motorcycles, so if a 450 or a 650 is too large for you and just too much to handle and you want a smaller motor, these are two amazing machines. The second reason that I brought these into frame is fuel mileage. When it comes to the bike back behind us, the bike with the worst fuel mileage is going to be the fastest one, quote unquote. It's going to be that DRZ400. The fuel mileage on that bike is going to be right around 40 to 4 miles per gallon or so. Now, the best mile per gallon motorcycle in this lineup is the newest of all of the motorcycles. That's going to be the Honda CRF 450L. That bike is claimed to get about 55 miles to gallon on average. Now, the two bikes we have here in front of us, while they do run right at the mid-20s for horsepower, they're not super strong when it comes to that, but they will get you anywhere that you need to go. They've got top speeds of right around 80 miles an hour, so you can ride them on the highway. Now, when it comes to fuel mileage, these two bikes crush it. We're looking at 65 miles per gallon for the WR and 78 miles per gallon for the Honda 250 Rally. Nearly 80 miles per gallon, and it has the largest gas tank, bar the KLR 650, so the range that you can go on this bike is nearly 300 miles per tank. Now, this is an extremely arguable topic. The best dual sport motorcycles, specifically the top 5, I'd like to hear what your comments are. What do you think are the best dual sport motorcycles out there, and what is your reason for choosing those as the best? Again, we have 7 bikes up here because I think the 250s really needed to be included. But if you really look at the top 5 that people are riding, I really think the 5 we have here behind us are really high on the list. So please, leave a comment down below. Which of these bikes would you like to see in your garage next? Which of these bikes have you owned? And give us an idea of how many miles you've put on each of those models if you've had multiples. I personally have spent lots of time on a KLR 650. I owned a DRZ400 for almost 90,000 miles and sold it for more than I bought it for. Spectacular machine. It was a bit heavy. Back in 2007, I bought the first plated in California 450 EXC. It was an amazing machine. And recently I had a chance to ride a 500 EXC. Completely blows that 450 out of the water. It really just depends on what type of riding you want to do on your dual sport motorcycle. If you're just going to hammer some gravel roads, but you're going to be doing lots of tarmac work, lots of freeway work, traveling some highways, byways, maybe the KLR 650 is your best bet. It is the least expensive bike up here in the lineup. If you're looking for modern technology, if you're looking for a quiet bike with one of the best fuel ranges or fuel mileages of all the bikes up here, that brand new Honda CRF 450L is probably the bike you should probably take a look at. Again, these are just my opinions about dual sport motorcycles, so I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you have any questions about what I said today, please leave a comment below with that information as well. I'm Kyle Bradge from ChapMoto Motorsports. I hope you enjoyed this segment. Please hit that like button and subscribe button if you want more action like this to come directly to your inbox. A little bonus track for you guys. I'm going to quickly talk about what I like or what makes me lean towards each of these bikes. Now, I'm an adventure motorcycle rider. Like I said, I have ridden dual sport motorcycles, and I am personally in the market for another small bike. Small bike being less than 600 cc's. Now, all of these bikes have been on my radar, looking at what will suit my needs best, and it's really, really difficult. I mean, the KLR 650, obviously, it's out of what I'm looking for currently, but I've ridden this bike from San Francisco to Las Vegas, Nevada, through the desert. So on the KLR 650, we left the San Francisco Bay Area, rode into the Gold Country, hit some beautiful backcountry roads, and then turned into dirt, and then we ended up in Ridgecrest for the night. From Ridgecrest, we headed up and over the mountains, through the little town of Ballarat, up and over Mingo Pass, and eventually down into Death Valley, and then to Las Vegas. The KLR 650 was a perfect machine for that type of particular trip. Now, that trip could have been done on any of the other motorcycles up here as well, but it would have been a butt burner, number one. And number two, we would have had to stop at least 3 times to change the oil on the 500 EXC. I've mentioned it a couple times, but my story with the DRZ400. I bought that bike brand new in 2003. It was a year old, had 1,000 miles on it. I rode that bike everywhere. Again, put about 90,000 miles on it, and about 12 years later, sold it for $1,000 more than I paid for it. Zero maintenance issues. The only thing I did was change the oil every 3,000 miles or so. That type of reliability you just can't beat. Now, another bike up here that I spent quite a bit of time on was the XR650L. Earlier, it was one of the original dual sport motorcycles that I learned how to ride. I'm talking back in the early 90s. And it still today is one of the most popular dual sport motorcycles out there in the segment. I mentioned quickly the 450 EXC. I bought that bike in 2007 because I was looking for something that was more aggressive, more powerful, and more track-oriented or fast desert trail oriented than my DRZ400. Now, owning those bikes during the same time period, the KTM got an oil change after every ride that I went on, and most of the time the DRZ was with me. It was a companion bike, if you will. That bike got its oil changed every 3,000 miles, and the KTM was every ride or every other ride. The maintenance on the KTM really was a headache when it came down to time spent in the garage, not time spent riding. Now, looking at the new bikes here to the lineup, we have the CRF 250 Rally. Now, if there's one bike that I am in love with the looks of, it is that 250 Rally. But the fact that it only has about 25 horsepower and a top speed, a top speed of 80 miles an hour, it just doesn't fit into the type of riding that I'm going to want to do on it. Now, if I could take that 450L motor and put that in this 250 Rally frame, that would be a winner. So right now I'm really on the fence. Do I get the 450L or do I get the KTM 500 EXCF? They are both very high maintenance machines, but that's the type of performance that I'm looking for in my next dual sport motorcycle. So if you guys care to comment, please let me know which one of those two bikes do you think that I should pick up and start making videos on. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Kyle Bradshaw from ChapMoto Motorsports. Until next time, take care and ride safe out there.